Hey, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support at sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at Facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Deezer, and more. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Also follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with a wonderful lady based in San Francisco, California. She's currently a sophomore in college, and she's got some new music out, a self-titled release, and she'll be performing for us later on in the show. And not only she's a singer, songwriter, guitarist, and a very talented musician, she also created an interactive book of poetry, and also sings both in French and English. And, of course, she's the Sonic Butterfly of San Francisco. Ladies and gentlemen, live from the Bay, here is the very, very talented Rae Du Soleil. Rae, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Mike. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you with as well, too. So you're based out of San Francisco, California. You're a sophomore in college. You also have a self-titled album out right now, and you also be playing one of your songs as well, too. You also have an interactive book of poetry. You also sing both in French and English, and you got an interesting story about being a Sonic Butterfly. But before we get to all that, tell us how you got started.
Yeah, I got started in music since, growing up, I loved all forms of creative expression. Since being a kid, I've just loved to draw and paint and tell stories, and that eventually morphed into just really wanting to be on a stage. My mom tells me the story of how when I was 3 years old, I just told her, I don't care what I do, I just want to be on a stage. And so I started doing stage activities like drama and music. And so I started playing guitar and singing because I knew I loved those things. And when I was 10 years old, I was in a really unique position where my family moved to Paris, France for a year.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Yeah, I'm a dual French-American citizen, but I'd never spent time in France or connected with my heritage in that way. And so I ended up in French public school with no French background, so I immediately started learning the language. And while I was there that year, I got exposed to a lot of French music, and I fell in love with it. So when I returned home, I took my guitar playing and my singing, and I started playing French music. And a few years later, I was in a really rough spot in my life, and suddenly songwriting became one of my most prominent creative outlets. It really helped get me through this rough patch. Mm-hmm. And so that's how the French and the songwriting kind of blended together. And while I've never written a song in French, when I play a set, it's now my original music. And oftentimes I incorporate French songs into there too. And then after I graduated high school, I realized I really wanted to go into the field of creative empowerment work because music in my life, I continued to see how art and music heals, and it's a unifying force, and it is just it's a very powerful healing modality as well. And so I started doing work with nonprofit organizations like the Intuitive Writing Project, which leads writing-based empowerment programs for teenage girls. I started working alongside the Women's Wisdom Initiative, which brings healing arts workshops to survivors of sexual assault across the country, and I continued to see over and over the power of creativity. And so as I have gone on my songwriting journey, that's a message I want to continue to spread, that art heals.
That is amazing. And what did you say you're studying?
Yeah, so I'm in my second year in college now, and I'm in this really phenomenal program that I'm so grateful to be in, where I get to design my own interdisciplinary major. So it becomes like a self-titled thing where I design the curriculum with some structure, of course, but I have a lot of academic freedom. And so far, what I'm calling it is trauma, resilience, and integrative and accessible mental health resources. So within that, I'm looking at developmental psychology, neuroscience, systems of early education, systems of community healthcare, and embodiment studies. So looking at how we can increase accessibility to community-based mental health resources, because I don't think mental health care is as accessible as it needs to be in this country. And in my life, I've been really privileged to have access, and that's part of what got me on my songwriting journey. I started writing music when I was in a really tough mental space, and because of the help I was able to receive, I had the privilege to like tap into creativity in a way that I might not have if I hadn't had the appropriate resources to help get my life back on track. So I really blend that part of my story into what I'm studying in school and the work I want to keep doing.
That is interesting. You say about getting the mental health accessibility in the States. And what about in France? Can you get that same thing? And how do you compare the mental health services, with America and in France?
Yeah, that's actually not something I know a whole lot about, because the time I spent in France, I was 10, and that's not something I really have ever learned about. But I do know that just the system of healthcare in France is very different from the United States, because you got like socialism and you got capitalism, and just the way that healthcare works with the systems is different. But I do remember like my sister, she got injured when we were there, and she went to get an x-ray at the doctor, and it was maybe like 60 euros for the x-ray and for the doctor visit. Whereas like in the United States, you're looking at thousands and thousands of dollars for that same thing.
Whoa.
So I do know that things are significantly more accessible over there, but I don't have enough information to really talk about the mental health care system.
That's fine. I know you talked about a lot about mental health and everything else, and with the program that you create as well too. And upon graduating, and I forgot to ask, what's the name of the college you're at, and what do you plan on doing with the degree, and what are your future plans?
Yeah, so I'm currently at Western Washington University, and the program for the interdisciplinary major is called Fairhaven College, and I love it so much. It's such a privilege to be at school here. And what I intend to create, it's still at a conceptual level, but what I envision are community-based groups for collective resilience and interpersonal and intrapersonal connection. And also within that, incorporating the expressive arts modalities. So using visual arts, drama, music, all of those categories as ways to heal and to grow, and for transformative and personal development work. And making those resources accessible to communities that historically have not had access to them. That's the work that I really want to do. And right now I'm actually collaborating with a community leader here in Bellingham to start a mock-up for these groups and to start leading them. So that will probably grow within the next year or two, and I'm really looking forward to that. And I also just want to continue to do like fun kind of community connecting based things, because my mission as a singer-songwriter is what I call creation for connection. So I really promote authenticity and vulnerability and empowerment and empathy through the work I do. And so like right now we're in this COVID-19 crisis, right? And it's like, I know for myself, I'm more anxious than normal. I know people can be feeling disconnected because of the physical isolation. And I know that there's just lots of vulnerable communities, especially in crisis right now. And so I was thinking about how I could use my music to create something for good during this time. And so I had this idea to host an Instagram live open mic for COVID-19 relief. And so this is actually happening tomorrow night, and I'm really excited. I've never done anything like this before, and I don't know how it's going to go, but I have high hopes. So I've found musicians from all across the United States who have signed up, and it's by donation, and all donations are going to be going to organizations on the front lines of helping with coronavirus relief right now, like Organization Direct Relief, the organization Feeding America. And so we're going to come together, and it's an open mic, just virtual. So we're all going to share our music and pool resources and hopefully do some good during this really difficult time. So those are the kind of things that I'm really passionate about. I hope to just keep doing more of that.
Mm-hmm. And will you be hosting this like every week or every 2 weeks, or how frequent will you be doing this?
Yeah, I was going to see. how tomorrow night went. And if it goes well, I'm definitely thinking about doing more in the future, like maybe weekly or bi-weekly, because if it's something that people respond well to, has a good impact, there's no reason to stop.
Right, exactly. And of course, speaking about music, having fun, and everything else, we'll talk about your self-titled release and more. But first, listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at SonicWebStudios.com for all your needs. Looking for a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs at below the competition way. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at facebook.com/the Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, Apple, and more. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Also follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with singer-songwriter, musician Rae Du Soleil from San Francisco, California, here on the Mike Wagner Show. Currently a sophomore in college over in Western Washington, and talked about her upbringing in that area, along with spending a little bit of time in Paris. We maybe get to sing a little French or so later on, and also has a self-titled release, which is Rae Du Soleil, and perhaps you can probably sing one of the tunes for us live, since you got a guitar ready to go.
Yes, absolutely. This was the first single I released. It's also on the album that just came out in January. It's called I Love You Close. The intensity of innocence, the closeness in our distance, hand in hand in foreign lands of love, lands I've never known, 'cause I've traveled alone. You're so comfortable close. You're so comfortable close. I love you close. I'm not running away this time, and you're not clinging on to me for life, breaking the chains, giving love a new name. You are my sunshine, but still dance in the rain. Oh, oh, oh. You're so comfortable close. You're so comfortable close. I love you, I love you, I love you. When I dance with my shadow, love like you appears to push me toward my fears. Dance with me, and I will say I love you close. I love you close. I love you close. Why am I running away? I used to say, but not today. All I say and all I pray are you stay comfortable close. Comfortable close. I love you close. Comfortable close. I love you, I love you, I love you most.
Oh, that's terrific. Love it. That was I Love You Close from Rae Du Soleil. And tell us more about that song and what inspired you to write it.
Yeah, so that song actually came out, it was kind of like a response song to a different song I wrote. One of the earlier songs that I wrote when I was in high school was called Too Close for Comfort. And it was about it's kind of about love avoidance in the way that I would fall for somebody and then I would get really stressed out and just like want to run away and why I didn't know why, and just kind of working through that. And so then when I did fall in love, it was the complete opposite experience. And I didn't know I was capable of having a completely opposite experience from Too Close to Comfort to what I titled the song, I Love You Close. And so it's really just about surrendering to those feelings and trusting even when it's scary and not running away and staying because you believe in something greater than what's happened in the past.
That's amazing as well, too. You also had a couple of songs called How I Feel, Take Me Back, and tell us more about some of those songs and what inspired you to write.
Yeah, so the first song I ever wrote was How I Feel. And I love the story of that song because I was actually in a psychiatric facility at the time, and it was my like third hospitalization in a very short period of time when I was struggling a lot. I was 16 years old and just really depressed and struggling with like my will to be alive and everything. And so I found out when I was in this facility that I wasn't going to be going home because my parents had made the decision to send me to a long-term treatment center so I could get the help that I needed. And I eventually became so grateful for that because it was really such a privilege to like one, have the resources for that, and also just to have parents who believed in my ability to heal enough to take a step like that. But initially when I found out I was going to treatment, I was really upset and devastated. And so I ended up in the hallway of this facility with my guitar and the other kids, my friends there around me. And I just started playing this melody, and then the words of How I Feel started coming out of my mouth. And the song really, even though I don't explicitly say it, it's about not going home, and it's about loss, and it's about losing something you love and not realizing how much you loved it till it's gone. And a lot of the kids around me also weren't going home. And some of us were kind of like crying. Some of us were singing along. Some were just sitting there listening. And it was a really bittersweet moment, but it was kind of the inception of my mission of as a songwriter of creation for connection, because this song gave voice to something that we were all going through, something that was really painful, and we were all able to connect because this song existed in a way. We were already connected, but the song just like encapsulated this very specific experience. And after that song came to me, How I Feel, I just kept writing songs over the next year I spent in treatment, and nearly all the songs that just came out on my album were songs I wrote during that time. So a lot of the themes on the album are like you asked about Take Me Back. That was once I ended up in treatment, and I was just reflecting a lot on like how I'd ended up there and how at times I was regretful about the path that my life took. But then there's songs like Another Road, where it's like I've already had the reckoning with why I ended up here, and now I was realizing how grateful I was for even the hardships and how I wouldn't change a thing because there is so much beauty in the unexpected. And I would not be the same person I am now if I hadn't been through some of the things I've been through, and that is a theme of the album too. And I think that's also just part of the human experience.
Oh, that's fantastic. You also sing in French as well, too. And can you maybe sing a little French for us? If you want to do guitar, that's fine also. Yeah, let's hear it sing in French. Ah oui?
Ah oui. Okay, so this is a song. It's one of my favorite French pop songs, and it's called Je veux, which means I want. And it's by this artist Zaz, Z-A-Z. And the song is basically she's telling this guy, I don't want your money, I just want your love. And she's talking about all these material things that he wants to give her. She's basically rejecting that. And I love just like the melody and the vibe of the song, and it's also a refreshing message. So this is Je veux. Donnez-moi ensuite un Ritz, je n'en veux pas des bijoux de chez Chanel, je n'en veux pas. Donnez-moi une limousine, j'en ferai quoi? Offrez-moi du personnel, j'en ferai quoi? Un manoir à Neufchâtel, ce n'est pas pour moi. Offrez-moi la Tour Eiffel, j'en ferai quoi? Je veux l'amour, la joie, de la bonne humeur. Ce n'est pas votre l'hypocrisie, moi, je me casse de là, j'en ai marre des langues de bois. Regardez-moi, de toute manière, je suis un papa, et je suis comme ça, ba, ba, da, ba, 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 da. Ya, da, da, ba, 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 da. Je veux l'amour, la joie, de la bonne humeur. Ce n'est pas votre argent qui fera mon bonheur. Moi je veux crever la main sur le cœur. Allons ensemble découvrir ma liberté. Oubliez donc tous vos clichés. Bienvenue dans ma réalité. Je veux l'amour, la joie, de la bonne humeur. Ce n'est pas votre argent qui fera mon bonheur. Moi je veux crever la main sur le cœur. Allons ensemble découvrir ma liberté. Oubliez donc tous vos clichés. Bienvenue dans ma réalité.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, great song, Je Vous, from Rae Du Soleil here on the Mike Wagner Show. And for me, Je Vous, Taco Bell.
Moi aussi.
Well, we're just playing off of that. And, of course, we'll talk about your interactive book of poetry and more. But first, listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at SonicWebStudios.com for all your needs. Looking for a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs at below the competition rate. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@SonicWebStudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at Facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, Apple, and more. Take the Mike Wagner Show on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Also follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with singer, songwriter, guitarist Rae Du Soleil, based out of San Francisco, California. Here on the Mike Wagner Show, currently a sophomore in college out in Western Washington as well too, and took a little trip to Paris, France, per se, and sang a little bit of French and English for us. And not only you're a singer, songwriter, musician, but you created an interactive book of poetry. You can just tell us more about that.
Yeah, so that interactive book of poetry is still in the works. Before I started writing music, I was writing poetry, and that really is what songwriting is anyway. It's poetry, and then you add the music. And so I've had this concept for a long time of creating a book of poetry that is interactive, meaning that it has music alongside of it.
Okay.
So I've been working on developing this for a while now, and amidst all the other projects that I'm working on, it's just another one of those that will be executed soon, but it's more of a concept than something that really exists right now. But what does exist is a podcast that I'm starting, which I'm really excited about.
Nice.
Yeah, and that's new. That's only been in the works for a couple weeks now, but I've already been interviewing some folks for it. And what it is, it's called The Inevitable Shit Podcast, Stories of Creation and Connection. And Inevitable Shit is one of my songs. And it's kind of playing on the crap that we all go through in life. And so what I'm doing on this podcast is I'm talking to leaders and activists about how they've used their experiences of adversity for inspiration to create positive social change.
Uh-huh. And of course, another question is too, does that require toilet paper?
So much. Yeah, it gets messy when we start talking about our stories.
I guess somebody did give a crap. That's why I asked that one. So
yeah.
And where can we check your podcast at?
Yeah, there's going to be a link to that podcast on my website, raedusoleil.com, and it's also going to be on like the major podcast streaming platforms like the Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Podbean, Buzzsprout, all the typical podcast streaming sites. And I'm still figuring out exactly how it's going to work because I've never done this before. But the first episode should be out in about a week or so.
That'd be great. We're looking forward to it as well, too. And of course, you've done a lot of things so far. And of course, let's find out about your upcoming plans in 2020. But first, who have been some of your favorite artists and singers and musicians growing up, or especially writers as well?
Yeah, I grew up because listening to a lot of the music that my parents loved. So that was Michael Franti and Spearhead and U2 were the two major ones. And I've been privileged to go to many Michael Franti concerts because my mom is secretly in love with him. It's not so much of a secret. She really likes him. And I was just always enamored by the way that he engages with the crowd and the way that his songs are so heartfelt and meaningful and the way he has a message. Like he's both a musician and an activist, and that just since I was very young at his shows has really touched me. And so that inspires me. Also, U2 has always had a message, and so just as a kid, I could feel that as my mom would like blast their music in the car. And then living in France with the French music, that influenced me to involve some of that culture into my jazzy sound at times and my music. And in terms of writers, I really have just found myself drawn toward any artist that like is unapologetic about their mission and their truth. Some of my favorite writers are Audre Lorde and so many others. But yeah, I just continue to find myself drawn toward people who are bold and know what they want to say and say it, and don't shrink under any circumstance, and continue to connect with people. Yeah.
That is fantastic as well, too. And what's some of your upcoming plans for 2020 and beyond?
Yeah, so I have some exciting shows lined up, and with this current coronavirus lockdown situation, it's all a little bit uncertain right now. But to find out solidly what the deal with those events are, I have an events page on my website, and that's raedusoleil.com/events. So stay tuned to that because I can't say for sure right now what's going on with those shows.
Mm-hmm. We will do that as well, too. And who do you consider your biggest influence in your career?
Ooh, that is a good question. It's not a famous person. It's just all of the people in my life who have continued to believe in me and support me and been there for me. Because without them, I wouldn't even have a career. I would just be still trying to figure out my life. So to all the people who've continued to show me love and encouragement and support, that's who I have to thank.
That's fantastic. What's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
Keep creating. Everyone is an inherent creator, no matter how squashed that gets sometimes by a dominant culture. Everything that you have to offer the world, like each person has a gift, you have yours, and when you find it, share it.
That is fantastic. Once again, Rae Du Soleil here on the Mike Wagner Show based out of San Francisco. Thank you very much for your time with your self-titled release. And before we go here, we'd love to have you back on in sometime 2020 beyond. Tell us again your upcoming projects, what's your website, how do people contact you, and where can people purchase and listen to your music?
Yes, so you can find my music on all major streaming platforms, Apple Music, Spotify, all those places. You can visit my website for more information about me. You can get a CD, any merch you want, raedusoleil.com. That's RAEDUSOLEIL.com. You can connect with me on social media. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. My handle is Rae Du Soul. It's RAEDUSOL. And stay tuned to the website for more events and exciting announcements coming up.
Sounds great, Rae. Thank you very much for your time. You've been fantastic. Looking forward to having you again soon. Do us a favor, keep us up to date. We'd love to have you back on. You've been fantastic.
Will do. Thank you so much, Mike.